everyone, and welcome to today's DataVox webinar, SD-WAN for the Distributed Workforce, presented by Cisco Meraki and Complete Communications. My name is Jessica, and I will be your moderator today. We are broadcasting this webinar through Cisco WebEx events, and the audio can be heard through your PC or by calling into the phone number listed and with the access code provided in your confirmation email or calendar invite for this event. Today's webinar is being recorded on behalf of DataVox, and participation in this event indicates your consent to being included in that recording. All attendees will receive an email with a link to the completed recording 24 to 48 hours post-event. If you have questions for the presenters at any time during this presentation, you may submit those questions via the Q&A feature to the bottom right of your screen. This should already be turned on. Simply click Q&A and the text box will appear. Our panel will be responding to these questions throughout the presentation via text and will respond verbally at the conclusion of the presentation. If you are in need of support or have a question not pertaining to today's topic, please utilize the chat feature and I will be happy to assist you. This feature is separate from the Q&A feature and can be turned on by clicking the chat bubble in the lower center of your screen. Now that we have reviewed the features of this webinar, we would like to start off today's presentation with a few words from our solutions architect at DataVox, Andrew Ferguson. Andrew, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jessica. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for this webinar. Like Jessica said, my name is Andrew Ferguson, a solution architect here at DataVox. With businesses moving more and more towards software as a service applications, the need for more internet bandwidth has grown over the past few years. As a result of this movement, legacy premium WAN links such as MPLS are under strain. For the majority of organizations, simply increasing the bandwidth of their private WAN links is not an option due to the cost associated with them. The solution to this problem for many is SD-WAN, but why? In short, SD-WAN can take advantage of lower cost circuits such as broadband or fiber to load balance business critical traffic based on policy or link performance across multiple WAN links. At DataVox, we help businesses with a multitude of SD-WAN products and solutions. But when it comes to unbeatable simplicity and control while not sacrificing performance, there is only one manufacturer that comes to our mind. Today, Meraki legend Steve Smithers will tell us how Meraki SD-WAN, utilizing features such as auto VPN, policy-based routing, and dynamic path selection, can allow businesses to take advantage of lower cost WAN links while still delivering the desired level of performance for business critical applications. So with that said, over to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Appreciate it and glad to be here. I'm Steve Smithers. I cover South Texas for Cisco Meraki. So I cover many, many teams, the South Texas Territory team, the South Texas Select team, and I have been working with DataVox now for several years as well. So without further ado, I'll kick it off. So what we're going to talk about today, obviously, is Meraki SD-WAN, and we're going to hand the ball off to Complete Communications. They're going to give you 20 minutes, and then we're going to open it up at the end for Q&A. So what I want people to get out of my presentation, I have about 20 minutes, right? So I'm going to talk pretty quick. I've got a few slides, and then I'm going to actually show you the Meraki dashboard. And I think most people would prefer just to see the Meraki dashboard, so I'll try to get to that as soon as possible. So the theme of my presentation is have your cake and eat it too. Hopefully that's memorable for everybody, and we do have a few questions at the end. So try to take a couple notes, and we'll see if we can get you some Meraki swag. So keep that in mind for the end. Just pop in the answers in the Q&A. So I'm going to start off with the Meraki platform, talk a little bit about that, talk a little bit about the innovation that SD-WAN is allowing customers. I'm going to talk about the SD-WAN market as a whole, and then we're going to get into the benefits of SD-WAN, 4 primary benefits that I want you to take away today, and then I'm going to show you the demo. Then we'll hand it off to Complete Communications. So just talking about the platform. So Meraki is a very simple platform, easy to use. It's been the fastest growing business unit at Cisco now for going on 8 years. It was the largest acquisition to date back in 2012. I was fortunate enough to be part of that team pre-acquisition, and it's been a great ride to see the growth of Meraki growing with the broader Cisco teams. So a couple of reasons that I want to point out, the reason for the growth is because Meraki is easy to use. The market was screaming for something that was easy to use. Up to that point, everything was pretty complex. So with the Meraki platform, we throw in lifetime warranty. Almost all of our products have a lifetime warranty with a couple exceptions, outdoor access points and security cameras. Those don't have a lifetime warranty. Pretty much everything else does. We have 1, 3, 5, 7, and 10-year licenses available, so that makes it very easy. Don't have to worry about renewing for several years. And the big one for most customers is the fact that overnight replacements are included. So no longer sitting there worrying about, do you have coverage on a device? If you have Meraki, it's covered. We're going to overnight you a new device next day if a device fails. You also get 24/7 tech support is included. Over-the-web firmware and security updates, zero touch, so no longer scheduling, your time to come in at 2 in the morning on a Thursday night to do firmware upgrades, right? That's all zero touch. And the neat thing with Meraki is it stores the startup config firmware in the device, so if there's a firmware glitch, it doesn't brick the device. It'll actually revert back to the firmware that was working the last time it was actually working. So very, very cool, zero touch, save you a lot of time. Everything is centrally managed through the cloud. Meraki was built from the ground up to work in the cloud, as opposed to what we're seeing in the market, whereas a lot of our competitors are literally trying to retrofit solutions to work in the cloud. We were built from the ground up. And since we're a very mature cloud platform, we have a lot of troubleshooting tools that the market has asked for over the last 16 years, which has basically amounted to about a 90% average lower total cost of ownership going with the Meraki solution compared to a more traditional solution. And I'll break that down a little bit before I get into the demo. All features are included as a standard, and the value actually increases over time. For example, we've had several customers, call us up and say, hey, what's this new VoIP health feature we just turned on our dashboard, and we have this really cool new VoIP health feature, and it monitors our VoIP health and our applications in our data center. Well, that's a feature you got for free. We just turned it on one day, and now everybody gets to use it. So pretty neat stuff. So we have several products. I'm not going to talk about all of them in great detail. I'm primarily going to talk about SD-WAN, but just so you know, we do have the #1 selling firewall globally. The MR32, the MR33 is #1 selling access point globally. The #2 sold access point is not even a close second. It's actually less than half of our sales. And we actually have the #1 selling firewall as well. And the firewall just so happens to do SD-WAN, which is one of the major reasons why we're the leader in SD-WAN globally. So I want to talk about innovation. So SD-WAN enables innovation. What do I mean by that? I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that want to do very agile development, but they just don't have the throughput, or they just don't have the manpower. Maybe they don't have the training for their manpower to initiate some of these, CEO, CIO objectives that they want to achieve. So most people, and I have retailers in here just as an example because I pulled this from an IDC report yesterday, but about 67% of retailers are lagging in their digital transformation strategy. And most of those retailers today are feeling a pretty big burden due to the fact that they were not ready to do work from home and these kind of things that we're having to do due to coronavirus. Now, 30% of customers say legacy systems are hindering their omni-channel strategy and execution, and 22% of enterprise budgets in 2020, this year, will be spent on cloud-based solutions. And that's up about 100% in the past 5 years, right? Now, one of the customer stories I just wanted to tell you about real quick, Panera Bread. This is a neat case study due to the fact that they were one of the first to transform their business digitally back in 2014. Took them a little while to get it fully ramped up and deployed, but the value proposition has equated to, I think over the 10-year span, about an 8,000% stock gain. So if you owned stock 10 years ago in Panera Bread, you would have made about an 8,000% return. And that's because they were ahead of the curve. They were one of the early adopters of digitally transforming their business. They've won several top tech awards in the industry, and then they took their business private, so I don't think you can buy the stock anymore. So just to break down what they did, so they integrated Meraki into their network. I don't know how many people on the phone are Panera Bread customers or have shopped there lately. I happen to be a big fan. Here's the cool thing. If you're not a customer, I'll explain it to you. You can get on your phone, download the Panera Bread app, right? And then you come up with these 4 options. You can pick up the order, you can dine in, place an express order, and they actually do delivery now. They'll deliver it right to your house in some areas. Pretty cool. That's a really big deal right now that we have this coronavirus stuff, right? So they were ahead of the curve there. So you place your order. Now, what happens is you're going to show up to the store, right? You're going to pick up your order, and the Meraki access points are going to send a beacon alert to the staff, and they're going to say, hey, Joe's here to pick up his food. Joe's going to get a little message on his phone. It's going to say, hey, Joe, your food's not ready. Go sit at any table. Now they go sit at maybe table 20. Table 20 has a little beacon under it that actually talks to the app, and so the wait staff knows that Joe is seated at table 20. Joe hasn't even talked to anybody yet at the store. There's maybe even a long line at the store, people that haven't even placed their order yet. Joe cuts the line, sits at table 20, 2 minutes later, picks up his food, and walks out the door, literally without even having to talk to anybody. So pretty cool, no lines, no waiting. And what they were able to do is figure out that people waiting in line, right, is lost revenue. Now, let's talk about the industry of SD-WAN as a whole. So we're looking at about I think the total percent growth was like 3,000% growth over the last 3 years, right, which is pretty significant. But it's easy to go 3,000% growth when you start at nothing. SD-WAN didn't even exist a few years ago. Cisco invented it back in 2013, I believe. So we were we're very mature in the market. Meraki was very shortly after the Cisco solution. Meraki adopted their own SD-WAN solution within the MX product line, and that product line is now extremely mature with SD-WAN. So looking at the market share, since Cisco did invent the solution, clearly Cisco has the lion's share of the market share. And just to break down the 2 models, right? So as you know, Cisco has 2 different SD-WAN solutions. We have the Viptela solution, and we have the Meraki solution. Both solutions are identified by Gartner as a leader, as a visionary, right? Top right quadrant and Gartner's magic quadrant. And then if you really want to kind of pull the sheets back and look at the number of SD-WAN deployments, you can clearly see that Meraki leads the industry as a whole with over 17,000 deployments. Our next closest competitors don't even come close, which is kind of bragging rights. Since I have the floor, I have to do a little bragging, but I'll try not to do that too much. Just to give you a glimpse of some of our largest SD-WAN deployments, actually we have several that surpass these numbers, but it doesn't matter. The point is, if you're a small company, a small city, a small school, or the largest enterprise, the largest city, the largest school on the planet, Meraki can cover you. Now, let's break it down into the SD-WAN benefits quickly. These are the 4 big takeaways I would like for each of you listening today to take away. So you can have your cake and eat it too, which is not always possible, especially in the networking world, right? So with deploying SD-WAN, you can save money, you can increase your bandwidth, you can improve your reliability, and you can improve security. Now quickly try to jump through these, and then we'll get right to the demo. So saving money, pretty clear. The savings are very, very clear, but what a lot of people make a mistake of looking at is the day 2 cost. So with day 2 cost, it's actually about 90% of your spend is on day 2 operations. It's not the purchasing of the gear, it's the managing of the gear. It's the setting time aside to do firmware upgrades. It's how much time is lost when you have a hardware replacement. How many hours do you put in a week, a year doing troubleshooting? We have a customer that figured out they could do the cable test on our switches and actually save them over $1 million per year. They had 10,000 plus sites. They figured there was about $1,500 per trouble call to their restaurants. And if they could do a cable test prior to that trouble call, do their switch GUI, then they could figure out that maybe it was a short in one of the pairs on the switch cables, right? Now you can send a tech out to that site to just replace port 8's cable for $200, as opposed to a tech going out to that site for $1,500 to do a full end-to-end troubleshooting experience, right? So be thinking about day 2 cost. Now, Penn Mutual is another quick case study I'll talk about just as far as savings go. They deployed Meraki SD-WAN. This was 3-4 years ago. It's a neat case study because they only had about 50 sites, right? but they were able to save over the course of 3 years about $860,000. And that's just day one cost. That's just the purchase price. Of course, we all know how much MPLS costs, right? People typically want MPLS. This was several years ago. They wanted it because it was reliable and secure. It was expensive and everybody knew it. So now if you can still have a reliable solution by having multiple ISPs, right? And if one of them's not doing very well due to jitter, latency, et cetera, you can automatically have your path selection dynamically move over to the better ISP service at that point in time. So now you can have the same reliability that you're used to experiencing with MPLS. So if you can have all of that and save money, it's kind of having your cake and eating it too, right? Increased bandwidth. I don't need to go through this much. Everybody knows why we need increased bandwidth at the branches. Increased reliability. Why do we want increased reliability? Because you don't want to be this guy. What happens when there's a problem at a branch site, at a remote site, or even at the headquarters site? Everybody blames the network. Doesn't matter if it's the network. They're going to blame the network. So you want to avoid this at all costs. You must maintain quality of service, and SD-WAN allows you to do that. Not only can you do that, you can save money and improve reliability and improve security. Improved security, MX, was developed literally as a security appliance first. It has best-of-breed anti-malware protection built in, best-in-breed IPS, IDS built in through SourceFire's Snort engine, and then backed up all of that by Talos, which I can get into that another day. But just know that the MX has you covered from a security standpoint. Now, since we're running short on time, I'd like to just get quickly into the demo because I think that's what most people want to see. All right, so for those of you not familiar with Meraki, it's a very luxurious, for lack of a better word, GUI. You can quickly pull up and see some layer 7 visibility, some client visibility in your network globally, right? So at your fingertips, you have a lot of power. With a lot of power comes a lot of responsibility, but you have a lot of insight into your networks. And if there's something you don't like on a page, there's this little button on the bottom right called Make a Wish. And if you make a wish, maybe you want to see something different on this page, that wish goes right to the product team for development. So if they get a lot of wishes on a certain product or a certain feature, it's very likely that they're actually going to develop that feature for you. So it's pretty neat. Wishes do come true in Meraki world. And just to give you an example, let's make me a pizza. They do have a sense of humor. See if this still works. Yes, it still works. So they had so many wishes for people asking for pizza that they literally brought a picture of the pizza up now when you make that wish. So it's kind of funny. So you have all your clients, and you can see they're wired or wireless or basically an MDM client. Now let's jump to the VPN status page since this is more of an SD-WAN focused discussion. Let's look at SD-WAN. Here we have a Sydney appliance. Right, this is all the way in Sydney, Australia. We can see the latency of the device. And here's the cool thing. This is just the last day. Maybe I want to go back and look at the last 30 days. Most of our competitors only give you the last 5 days of coverage. And if you want to get more than that, you have to set up your own server, right? We actually store it for you for 30 days. It's great for retrospective inspection. You want to go back and look at an issue. Complaints don't always come through the same day that the issue occurred in, so you can do some retrospection there. And down here, you can quickly see the uplink decisions of several of your sites. You can see San Jose, WAN 2, preferred uplink, right? And these are the reasons that it failed over to WAN 2. So at a glance, you get a lot of detail, right? Now maybe I want to go look at London. Okay, so here's London. A couple of clicks, I'm actually looking at London now. Very quick, very easy. Maybe I want to look at the appliance status now. I'm doing a live demo, so I hope this works flawlessly. Good, it worked, perfect. So you can see that this is set up as the primary. You can set up a warm spare. Warm spare is immediate failover. With our SD-WAN, it's an immediate failover anyway. It's a stateful failover, sub-second failover. We actually have many YouTube videos on this. If you are, doing a voice call, for example, and your WAN 1 fails over due to high latency, and it fails over to WAN 2. It's instantaneous, and you will not drop the call in 99% of the cases. You can run your own test on this. We encourage you to run your own test. We'll send you equipment to do free trials all day because over 70% of our customers that get a free trial end up buying that trial and keeping it because they really, really liked it. And just to give you some perspective on trials and closing rates of trials in our industry, the industry average for closing a trial is less than 10%, right? That's our competitors. Our trial closing rate is over 70%, right? Actually, here in Texas, it's over 85% of our customers actually keep the equipment and pay for and purchase and put into production their trial equipment. So we highly encourage that. So quickly looking through this, and so we can get to complete communications for you. Let's look at security. We have a security center built in. These are your AMP and IPS, IDS alerts, and you can do some inspection here if you'd like, right? And you can get in here and whitelist this if it needs to be whitelisted real quick. You can do that. You can inspect the packet. These are the nerd knobs for your security center. Now, what a lot of people are asking for today is web app health. So web app health has been brought forth. Basically, Meraki was one of the first to do it as far as being built into an SD-WAN solution. So now you want to see your Google application health, you can get in here and quickly see your Google application health. There's a cool story. I'll try to post in the chat room the Meraki blog. So we had a Google health issue, and we were able to figure out which Google services were impacted, which of our employees in the world were going to be impacted by that Google outage, and quickly address the situation within an hour. Google hadn't even reported the outage yet, and we knew which Google services and which of our employees were going to be impacted by that Google outage. So having application health built in is another way to fend off everybody blaming the network, because you can quickly get into your network and see, okay, it's the server, right? My LAN is good. My WAN is good. Everybody, it's not the network, it's the server. It's the Google Drive server. And you can click in there, and I don't have time to show you guys all that, but you can quickly click in there and find out which server that is, the IP address, et cetera. A lot of times Google will need your help to do that. So your time to troubleshooting is resolved much, much faster. So one last thing, and then I'm going to pass it over to Complete Communications, and then at the end we'll have some Q&A, but we'll save that for the end. So getting into SD-WAN and traffic shaping, you know the number one thing CEOs are concerned about globally is lack of their employees' preparedness or lack of their employees' readiness to implement all of their objectives, right? They might have 8, and they're difficult. Not all of them are easy. The number one thing that CEOs are worried about, and this is based on Gartner's reports, is lack of training and lack of ability, lack of education to implement those changes. With Meraki, all that goes out the window. So now you can quickly deploy a solution. It's very easy to maintain. It's lifetime warranty. And programming it and standing it up is quicker than anything else on the market. And like I said, if you don't take my word for it, that's fine. Set up your own trial. But just to give you a glimpse into how easy this is to set up, you can quickly get in here, set up your load balancing. Load balance, right? Is it going over both of my WAN links? Yes or no? Is it active-active? Yes or no? What are my flow preferences? What do I prefer? Which links do I prefer? What are my custom performance classes, right? You can add preferences here. Maybe you want to set up a performance class around VoIP and video conferencing. Maybe WebEx is of great value to your organization. I can't click a save. I'm not an administrator, but you quickly do that, and then you can even set up the parameters. The neat thing is you can put the Meraki in as a sensor at the sites to see what the latency is, see what the jitter is, see what the loss is, see when you start having issues. Okay, I noticed there's issues with my voice when the latency goes up above 100 milliseconds, right? So then I can start setting some policies based on data. So let it be your data sensor, let it empower you. It's very easy to deploy and very easy to maintain to do that. Now, the next thing I'll show you, the last thing I'll show you is the traffic shaping rules. Quickly set up traffic shaping. We know, for example, WebEx is a very critical application for the success of your business, but we know peer-to-peer in gaming is not, for example. You can quickly get in there and firewall it, right? Layer 3 firewalling rules, or you can sit here and just slow it down. If I took peer-to-peer traffic and slowed it down to 50K, it's essentially blocked, right? So very easy, very, very quick to do that. You can sit here and add applications all day. If you have your own, write a custom expression, that's fine too. It doesn't have to be a known application in our list. Even though we have thousands in our list already, you can actually create your own and add them here too. Okay, I think without further ado, I'm going to hand the ball over to Mr. Blake Darling at Complete Communications, and he is going to give you a great presentation on what they have to offer you. Take it away, Blake. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. A lot of pressure. Hopefully it will be great. So, no, appreciate the opportunity to chat with everybody here, and looking forward to talking about. Steve spent a lot of time talking about the technology and the capabilities of the technology. We're going to talk about how leveraging SD-WAN through DataVox and Cisco technology, how you can address one of the primary concerns from a financial standpoint in today's marketplace. I mean, finance has always been extremely important, right? And when making decisions, and from an IT standpoint, the challenge that you face internally about getting budgetary approval, really the art and science of building the business case to take back the finance of, we need this, here's what it's going to do, here's how much it costs, can we get it, right? But as we move into the new world here, post-COVID, and what it's going to take to get budgetary approval on things, I read an article from PCW, Price Cooper Waterhouse, yesterday, and they surveyed 1,800 CFOs across the country, and one of the significant statistics that they cited was that IT budgets, and CapEx consumption, 83 or 87% of organizations are going to cut CapEx consumption, as well as specifically as it pertains to IT. And the narrative is going to be coming from finance. Two things: we're going to pause, pump the brakes, hold for a minute, and make what you have last longer, or B, bring us solutions that can create a monthly OpEx ROI to our organization, right? And that's going to be critical in your ability to get projects passed through. And that's what we do for customers, right? We show customers how much money they save by implementing a Meraki, the Tele SD-WAN solution through DataVox, right? So we show customers how much money they save by buying these solutions. And if you leverage the solutions correctly, the ROIs can be significant. One of the big benefits of a Meraki and a Tele DataVox SD-WAN solution is the ability to purchase your network transport agnostically. Right, and we're transport agnostic as well. We work with pretty much every provider, every carrier on a global basis. We try to determine where a customer is today, where they're going, and then we roadmap the most cost-effective, efficient way to get you there. So that could be a China Telecom, Comcast, Verizon. It doesn't matter. We just try to find the right fit for the customer. With that too, and in conjunction with DataVox, anything that touches that telephony umbrella, we can help with, right? We can help with SIP trunking ROI, stacking the SIP trunkings, stacking the ROI on SIP trunking, direct connects, data center site selection, procurement, showing you collectively in conjunction with DataVox how all these things work together, right? Data center, collab, SD-WAN, making all these things from a Cisco landscape standpoint work together in unison from a technology architecture, and then also leveraging and building the ROIs. DataVox and Fleet Communications worked on an opportunity in conjunction with Cisco, actually Meraki as well. And I'm going to show you some examples here of the dashboards in a bit, but we saved a customer. It was 400 site customer. It was a significant size opportunity. We came in with Meraki and collaboration solutions from DataVox, and we leveraged SD-WAN as the foundation, overlaid collaboration on top of that. You save the customer like 2.8 million annually on their carrier services. And that's very important for you to know where the cost savings come from. Because as you address cost savings in your IT organization, you know better than I do, but number one often is HR headcount. Number two expense in your IT organization on a monthly basis is carrier services. And oftentimes it's number one, right? So through the technology, you have the ability to take to finance and be proactive in your approach from a cost-cutting standpoint while improving your technology and your network and architecture at a significant ability. And we'll show you what that looks like exactly here. We do this globally. And I'm not talking about buying AT&T in China. I'm talking in-country carriers, in-country providers that can deliver the best speed, price, and performance, thus delivering the greatest ROI, fastest route to market, fastest mean time to resolution in the event of an outage or a trouble ticket. We help customers in conjunction with DataVox, right? We can give you a fully managed OpEx as a service solution that you would potentially buy from a service provider, like you would potentially buy from a service provider, but with the data and analytics that I'm going to show you here and math momentarily at a significantly lower price point than you can purchase from the service provider. In architecting an SD-WAN solution, it's critical that you can identify last mile providers, lit buildings of the carriers, which cable companies can service location, LTE, 3G, 4G, satellite, fixed wireless. So we can really drill down and build a redundant strategy as well as hard to reach locations on your opportunities. And day two, in conjunction with DataVox and Cisco, we can deliver, if needed, a fully managed as a service Meraki tele solution, as well as help manage all the billing components, right? We can give you a single pane of glass, dashboard visibility, lifecycle management of your connectivity. We give you all sorts of analytics and data on your spend, your top spend, who, trending, where it's at. We have a watchdog product that we put into place that makes sure your bills are correct. If your bills are incorrect, we proactively will get credits back from the service providers for you as well. So let me show you how we do this, and then we will get some questions answered after this. So I'm switching to my browser. Let me know if you're not seeing my browser, but I'll proceed as though you are. This is a customer that has 100 locations. Right? This particular customer was located 2/3 in the U.S. 2/3 outside of the U.S., 1/3 based inside of the U.S. So what we do, we go out and globally identify all the underlying providers and carriers that meet your requirements from a bandwidth standpoint, diversification standpoint, circuit type, MPLS, broadband, dual internet, it doesn't matter, primary, secondary. All this data we can drill down on as well. So for instance, Integra Telecom, which is now Zayo, they win 4 locations. And a win is defined based off of meeting customer criteria at the best price point. This is customer provided data, current speed and spend. This is proposed new speed and spend leveraging a Cisco SD-WAN solution powered by DataVox, right? 20 megs, $2,200, 20 megs, $399, 20 megs, $2,000, 20 megs, $399, 40 megs, $1,200, 40 megs, $499. And again, all based off of 2 things: the transport agnostic purchasing capability that a Cisco DataVox SD-WAN solution brings to the table in conjunction, and when I say Cisco SD-WAN, I mean Meraki and Tele, that a Cisco SD-WAN solution brings to the table in conjunction with our ability to identify the underlying providers and carriers that meet, match, and marry your requirements from a network standpoint. And all these carriers will change based off circuit type, footprint, SLA, speed requirements, diversification requirements. If I wanted to drill down and see what AT&T had at that location, level 3, CenturyLink, I can drill down and see what they have there as well. Now watch what happens when I take all this data and amortize it over these 100 locations. Here's the output. So here's the bomb. Everything that's required to successfully deploy an SD-WAN solution for this customer. This is the customer's current spend on their WAN prior to a technology investment. Once the customer makes the investment in the technology with DataVox and Cisco, and then in conjunction with complete communications assessment analysis, proposed new spend, $98K, with a monthly savings of $148K. Annual, $1.8 million, 3-year, $5.3 million, and a 5-year, $8.9 million, with a 4.3-month payback model. So on average, when we build these assessments, and we have built thousands of these assessments, we know that we typically see a 40 to 60% a month savings with a 6 to 12 month payback on the required infrastructure. And again, the technology enables you to buy the connectivity differently, right? A service provider's goal is to commoditize technology and keep the intelligence in the connectivity. Well, with the emergence of SD-WAN and the capabilities of the technology, now the technology allows you to keep the intelligence in the technology, right? And commoditize the connectivity, and the transport becomes done, right? And the routing now is done on the technology. And so we build and show a very visual current state of the union, proposed state, and then the outcome. And again, from a creativity standpoint, from a positioning within your organization, the reality is, and I'm sure this isn't new to you, is that a potential saving jobs standpoint within your organization, you have the ability to do that through the technology, right? And again, as I mentioned, same thing we can do on Collab and stack the ROIs. We can build the ROIs on Collab as well and leverage Meraki Cloud, DataVox Cloud solutions through Cisco, and really create a better performing, higher quality, significantly less cost solution for your organization. And then day two, what we do is we project manage the entire implementation as well on the circuits. So we prepare, process, procure the paperwork with all the underlying providers and carriers, and we track the entire order process, right? So you can drill down and see which locations you have with which carrier. We give you all sorts of analytics and metrics to your installation timelines. We hold everybody accountable. We hold the customer accountable. We hold our team and the carrier accountable. We track the entire order process, as I mentioned. You can drill down in each location and see the history of notes that have taken place at those locations. We track construction, demarc extension, right of entry. And this is actually how we make money as well, right? So we build the assessment, we build the ROI, and then we project manage the entire implementation. And we do that for free. And how we get paid and make money is the service providers pay us an outsourced project management fee to herd all the cats, to make sure the customer's ready, carrier's ready. Inevitably, when we're dealing with tens, hundreds, thousands of sites at a time, things are going to blow up and we'll get it put back on track. In the event that a particular service provider can't install a circuit for a multitude of reasons, as you've experienced, then we'll identify alternative connection options that meet your budgetary, bandwidth, and diversification requirements as close as possible. But unlike a service provider, right, that sells you a circuit, hits a quote, and moves on to the next deal, we don't get paid a dime until those circuits are installed, up and running, billing, and working properly. Just like you don't receive any application performance improvements, cost savings, speed enhancements till those circuits are installed, we don't realize revenue either. So it's important to know that our financial interests align with their customers' financial interests to make sure your timelines are being met. And if they're not, you know that you have a dog in the fight, and we're pushing as hard and as fast as possible to make sure those timelines are being met. And we're working in conjunction and in unison with DataVox and Cisco, Meraki to make sure that the circuits and technology are working together. Not avoid the finger pointing, oh, the circuit's not there, it's not ready, oh, the technology's not there, it's not ready. We work in conjunction and unison to provide you a much more seamless, streamlined implementation standpoint, again, at a significantly lower price point. And then day two, if you require services, as I mentioned, a single bill, logged in, but you can still see what's going on here. It's got the hourglass, but you can still see. If you require service like the single bill, one throat to choke from a support standpoint, with DataVox involved as well. We've worked on those opportunities where, customer wanted one number to call for technology, connectivity, and manage the whole process, and store your inventory, your contracts, all the reporting. We can overlay that on top as well. Not a requirement, and that's a for fee service, right? And SD-WAN is really about flexibility and taking advantage of flexibility. And how much flexibility do you want as a customer to take advantage of? And flexibility oftentimes translates into ROI and cost savings. So we have models where you can go wild, wild west, buy the technology, sign 10 different contracts with carriers, and manage it yourself. We have customers do that all the time. And that's typically the largest cost savings, most flexibility, and you take care of it yourself. Then on the far end of the spectrum, we have customers that require single contracts, one bill, one throat to choke, technology and support all under one umbrella. We can support that as well. And then we have the hybrid model where we can overlay, buy the technology, sign multiple contracts, and then then we can overlay support on top of that for a fee without marking up circuits as well. So really, any way and every way that you need to look at it and consume it as an organization, we can help you do that and supply all the analytics, metrics, and data necessary to help you make an educated decision, including you may have thought that you wanted to do it this way, but after we show you collectively as a team, if you did it this way, you could save this much more money. Your decisions might change based off information. Happens all the time with my kids. After I find out the truth, my punishment decisions change, right? So the last thing here that I'll share that we're seeing in the marketplace, and we've upgraded our tools in some instances to be able to demonstrate this. This is it's our new dashboards that we're rolling out here. We're running both simultaneously until we make sure all the bugs are worked out. But so this is an example, same example I was showing you here, the cost of the technology, right? And again, we're entering into a interesting conundrum here where finance is cutting CapEx and OpEx. So in that survey that I read, 82% of CFOs are going to be cutting CapEx and facilities expenditures. And then 53% we're going to be cutting IT spend, specifically IT spend. So how do you marry those two worlds together and still consume the technology that allows you to do your job, deliver more value to the business from a technology and efficiency functionality standpoint, as well as deliver significant ROIs from an OpEx standpoint? So, the CapEx model here, there's the CapEx, current spend, new spend, monthly savings, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. But watch what happens if we leverage Cisco Capital or other potential financing mechanisms that DataVox has. Watch what happens here. We rolled this number into an OpEx. We took this $700K and OpExed it instantly. And so we rolled that in. We want to add, managed services, DataVox, single bill, whatever we want to add into, we can add into this. And if we take that number, and this is a Cisco Capital number, 10.6, and Cisco Capital now, and Cisco has many financing mechanisms that potentially allow you to delay payment as well. So this is a strategy where you can take to finance and show a zero out of pocket, zero expense, instant savings from an implementation standpoint. This customer still saved $132K a month, 54% on their circuits. And this included, as you can see here, it included the technology, it included SD-WAN as a service, and really one throat to choke for everything. And the customer still saved $132K a month from an OpEx standpoint. So appreciate everybody's time today. Looking forward to work with you and showing what we can do here as a collective team, and love to answer any questions collectively as a team that you might have as well, but looking forward to chatting.
Awesome. Thank you, Blake. I appreciate that. Together, Meraki SD-WAN and Complete Communications ROI models is a really powerful story. If you guys would like to engage in discussing this further, please reach out to the team here at DataVox, and we would love to help you see the true value in an SD-WAN solution. We're going to take a minute here to ask you guys a question for a chance to win some Meraki swag. So if you would, please submit the answers to this question in the Q&A box. And the first 4 people that answer correctly will receive some Meraki swag. So what were the 4 key takeaways from SD-WAN that Steve presented earlier? We'll give you a couple seconds to answer those in the Q&A box. Like we've got a few coming in.
Yep.
While we wait for these guys to answer this question, Steve, I had another question that came in that I don't think we got answers to, which was SD-WAN equipment availability, right? I think they said they have seen some other vendors having difficulty getting equipment during the current situation. Is this going to be a problem for the Meraki equipment?
Well, fortunately for us, most of our products are actually made in Taiwan and not China. We're seeing a big impact right now with Chinese manufacturing. A lot of their plants were just shut down due to coronavirus, right? So that was a problem. And then, of course, the increase in demand for work from home appliances. So just to give you some insight, we sold over 100,000 work from home appliances, the Z3 model, in like 4 days, 2 weeks ago. That cleared out our stock of that product. Fortunately, we have an access point, can also VPN, right? So you can have that access point be your VPN tunnel, be your gateway, have your printers talk to it, have your computers at home talk to it, and do full tunnel or split tunnel. We have plenty of stock of access points. We also have the MX line, which I personally prefer anyway, because with the MX, you get AMP and IPS and traffic shaping built into the appliance. As you know, most people's houses don't have a lot of throughput. Some do, some don't. So if you can traffic shape some of the business critical applications for your work from home employees, that can mean a big, big difference in, the success of your business continuity plan for work from home. And we have plenty of MXs in stock too. So yes, there's been some impact, but we have several really, really good workarounds and that are even the same price as the Z3 model. We should have Z3 stock at the end of the month. We've prioritized that for healthcare. Healthcare is getting first priority. We have a big backlog of those, so I don't think we're going to have many left after we clear that backlog. So we're probably looking at the end of May for a restock of Z3s, but everything else is in stock. Good question, thanks.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I think that's all of the questions that we had. So, Jessica, back over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Andrew. And I think we might have the last few answers there in the Q&A box. If you just want to review those, make sure they're correct. And we will contact the winners for your address to send out that Meraki swag. Okay, great. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining today's webinar. As a reminder, the recording link for today's session will be emailed to all attendees 24 to 48 hours post-event. If you did enjoy today's session and would like to hear more, we do offer new webinars weekly. Please check our DataVox website for more information on upcoming sessions. And as always, we would love to hear your feedback on our events. Once this webinar has ended, you will be redirected to a survey page. If you could please take a moment to complete this survey before closing out your browser, we would greatly appreciate it. That concludes our session for today. Thank you again to Steve and Blake for a great presentation, and thank you all for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.